oh yeah, if you've got rich parents, it's easier to become more successful. Other people will say, well yeah, if you're surrounded by really successful rich people, you're more likely to get rich yourself. And I guess both of those things were true, but they both still prove the argument for what I'm about to talk about. Hello guys, how are we? For those of you new here, I'm a psychology student trained to be a therapist, so on this channel we talk about positivity, mindset, well-being, mental health and all things like that. So if that sounds of interest, stick around. One of the beauties of life is, as a whole, you get to decide who you are and what kind of person you want to be. You get to decide not only just the trajectory of your life, but the actual integral qualities you have as a human being. A few things are set for you: your height, your eye colour, your gender, your family background, a couple of things. But as a whole, your body is just a vessel that you control, and you can train it and mould it, and your brain, however you like. Things like being fit, things like being intelligent, things like being hardworking, punctual, integrity, honest, loads of other qualities, you get to decide that. And that's important because I think a lot of the time people just gravitate to being the average of what they're surrounded by, and unfortunately if you're born into circumstances where you aren't surrounded by good people, I think people just see barriers thinking that they can't be any better than what's around them. I'm not going to do a whole video on the class system, especially here in the UK at the moment, but statistically to this day the best predictor of your outcomes in life and your income as you grow up and get older, to this day the best predictor of that is still the postcode that you're born into. Now some people will say, oh yeah, if you've got rich parents it's easier to become more successful. Other people will say, well yeah, if you're surrounded by really successful rich people, you're more likely to get rich yourself. And I guess both of those things were true, but they both still prove the argument for what I'm about to talk about. The phrase limiting beliefs is thrown around so often, but I really don't think people realise how true it is. The amount of times if you tell yourself silly things like, I'm not a morning person, that is one of my biggest pet peeves when people say, oh, I'm not a morning person. What do you mean you're not a morning person? No one in the world, or very few people, enjoy getting up at 5-6 a.m. when it's cold, when it's dark, to go to the gym or whatever. Very few people genuinely enjoy that. People do it because they know it's the right thing to do. I'm not a morning person is just an excuse. We are all human beings. We are all capable of waking up at whatever time we choose. Some people just push through the difficult bit and do it, and some people don't. I've had a huge limiting belief that I've overcome recently, which is I'm just crap at languages. It has been my New Year's resolution to learn French for about a decade, and I've just told myself for years, well, you're either good at languages or you're not, and I'm just rubbish at them and I can't do it. And even me, working as hard as I am on sort of reflection and self-improvement and stuff like that, that was one massive limiting belief that literally until 4 weeks ago when I actually went, you know what, F this, I'm just going to get a French tutor and see how I get on. I'm fine. I'm not fluent because it's been 4 weeks, but I am learning completely fine at a natural rate that anyone else would learn at my age. If I had just got over that limiting belief 1 year, 5, 10 years ago, whenever it was, even 6 months ago at the start of the year when I planned to do it, I'd be so much further ahead than where I am now. And that was for no other reason than the fact that I just told myself I couldn't do it. Another one that I had personally, which I've told you guys about on this channel recently, obviously you guys that have followed for a while know that I've had heart surgery and things like that, and I've got a few medical issues, all in the past now, but they are things that have happened. And because of that, I just told myself that I wasn't any good at running and that I wasn't going to be able to run long distances. And obviously there is some medical elements to that, but realistically, I've got 2 legs that work. I ain't going to be able to run long distances quickly, certainly not as quickly as other people, but if I put one foot in front of the other, I can run long distances. And it's one of those things, as soon as I ran my first 5k, I now run 5k minimum per week. Again, I could have started doing that 5 years ago, but I just told myself that I couldn't do it. And yes, just biologically, there are certain distances that I may one day, if I dedicate everything to do it, may be able to run a half marathon. Anything longer than that, because I've got a metal valve, I probably can't sustain, which is fine, but I've still pushed my body to what I can do and got over that limiting belief. What's so important about these limiting beliefs, and what I wanted to talk about today, is the fact that very rarely, one, they're near on never true, and two, very rarely are they actually something that you've decided or found out for yourself. These are often labels that people have given you. The languages one was one that I decided. I maybe partially came from when I was at school and I wasn't very good, but I just made that up myself, that I was rubbish at languages. That was a lie that I just told myself and believed. The running one, again, was from years and years of doctors and cardiologists and PE teachers and stuff like that going, look, you're just no good at this cross-country thing, just don't bother, whatever, like there's no point, it's not worth the risk, like, you're never going to be able to run. And I listened to that, and it's hard when you're a child because you do take things on, especially from adults, but as soon as you're 16, 17, 18, you can start making your own decisions. You've got to start challenging these limiting beliefs that you've been set. The actual point of the video that I wanted to make today is about turning yourself into the person that you want to be and creating the person that you want to be and building your identity. And this has come from, I'm reading a book at the moment, very famous book, especially in this sort of self-development community, whatever you want to call it, Atomic Habits. And the line that stuck out to me and what sort of inspired me to sort of write my notes on this topic was, it was something like, you are more likely to behave in a way that reflects an element of your identity that you're proud of. Now, I've made that a bit of a mouthful. I think he summarised it a little better. But the point is, if you take a part of your identity or something that you want to be good of or that you're proud of, you are more likely to behave as a person who has that trait. For me, for example, no matter how crap I feel, no matter how late I've stayed up, I often wake up early in the morning because I am, as I've said, one of my pet peeves is I'm not a morning person. I'm almost the opposite. I'm really proud of the fact that I wake up really early. I say really early. I wake up at 6 Monday to Friday. I wake up at 7 on weekends. But there are very few people who wake up at 7 on weekends. But my point is, I am really, really proud of the fact that I'm someone who takes their sleep and health and fitness seriously. So waking up at 6 AM and going to the gym, or waking up at 6 AM and doing a walk or a run, is really important to me. And because it's important to me, I'm more likely to behave as someone who does that. If I didn't make health and fitness a core part of my identity and something that I'm proud of, when that alarm goes off at 6 AM, I go, oh, it's not really that important to me. I can roll back over and go to bed. It won't affect the view I have of myself. So the point that this book tries to make, again, a book I'd really, really recommend people reading, is rather than sort of saying, oh, like I'm going to try and do this, I might give this a go or give this a practice. Decide the person you want to be, decide the trait you want to have, and work backwards from there. Behave as someone who has that trait. Like, I try not to say to people, oh, I'm trying to learn French. I try to say, oh, I'm training to be bilingual. Because that is the goal. It ain't going to be the goal in the next 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But if I do an hour a week of French for the next 5 years, I'm probably near on going to be able to go over to France and not have to speak a word of English. That's bilingual. So the idea being that because that is a trait that I want to be proud of, I want to be a bilingual person, I am far more likely to stick with these French lessons, even if I feel like I'm not necessarily making progress, or if I go, oh, it's a little bit of money, or oh, I'd rather go have a beer on a Wednesday when I do my lesson. Like, no, this is becoming an important part of who I am and who I want to be, so I am more likely to behave in that way. I will wrap up the video soon, but what's interesting is it also works in the flip way. If you sit there and you tell people, oh no, I'm being really bad at the moment, I'm eating crap at the moment, oh, I'm sleeping in, I'm going to bed really late, I'm playing too many video games, you are actually more likely to behave like that because you're telling everyone that this is the person you are. So your brain going, oh, this must be the person I am. And that doesn't mean go and lie to people. That doesn't mean you get to go out and tell people, oh, I get up at 6 AM every day and go to the gym, when actually you sleep until midday, wake up, have a cigarette and play video games. That's not what it's about. It's about, if you are telling people that you are this type of person, you are more likely to behave in that way because you become so invested in those traits. So like I said, sort of call to action, little thing that you guys can do, whatever you want to call it. Physically, you guys know I love writing shit down. Write a list of traits you want to be as a person. That could be anything. That could be wake up early, someone who goes to the gym, someone who runs 5k a week. It could even be honest, having integrity, intelligent, someone who reads. Reading's a brilliant one. I don't tell people, oh, I'm trying to get better with reading. I tell people, oh, I read a chapter a day at least. That's the way I've got into reading, because that is what I do. And because I talk about that behaviour and I want to become a reader, I'm not trying to read books. I'm someone who reads, and because I'm someone who reads, I'm more likely to read. Write down your list. Write down the traits. Do a little cross, whatever table, whatever you want to do. Write down the traits of someone who does that. So I want to be healthy. What does a healthy person do? They don't eat processed food. They minimise their sugar intake. They eat better foods. They go to bed and wake up early. Blah, 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 blah. Those behaviours linked with that trait, with you going, this is the person I want to become, makes things a lot easier. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. I do appreciate you guys who stick around. I do hope you find it useful. If you do, please do consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I drop 2 videos every week. You don't want to miss them. As always, comment any other thoughts you have below. My socials are in the description as well if you want to drop me a message, ask me a question or anything like that. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, guys.